Hey there, wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads. My name is Anthony.
And my name is Eric.
And we are the Board Game Dads here to kick off another original series where we're going to review some games. Shocking. And we've been using, in the past, in some of our previous videos, we've been using our Just the Facts rating system. So we basically decided to focus on one game in some of these videos where we do a little bit of an overview of how the game plays, but more importantly, we are ranking in several categories, 5 of them to be exact, on how this game would play for a family. All right, and that's our F.A.C.T.S rating system, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video. But Eric, before we even get to that, tell the folks at home, what game is it that we're talking about for our first ever official F.A.C.T.S
review? We
review?
are talking about CoraQuest. Now, I know we brought CoraQuest up when we had Kickstarter Day, but we didn't really get too in deep. And this isn't going to be a rules run through or anything like that. But this game deserves more than half a video.
Agreed.
This game, we wanted to be able to focus in on what we really like about this game or what we don't like, and tell you about it.
For sure. And I think hopefully if you're, on the fence about maybe purchasing this game for you and your family, or, maybe you did get it and just haven't opened it yet, just hope to give you a little bit of an idea of how this might work for you, either you and your family or you and your game group or whatever combination of those things that might be going on in your life.
Now, on that point, when I backed this game, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play this game with my daughter for at least another 4 or 5 years. And that's fine. That's why I backed it. I backed it so that I could play this game with my daughter in 4 or 5 years and with my son in 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And so I still got a little bit of time to play this as a family.
Yes.
But until then, can I play it with my wife? Is it fun for the family?
You'll just have to wait until the end of the video.
Oh, yeah. Wait for the end. Yes.
All right, folks. So before we get into any specific ratings or even what this game is all about, we're going to do something here called a flashback, where we're going to talk about something that you all told us about in a previous video. Eric already alluded to the Kickstarter Day video that we did a couple weeks back. And so we're going to focus on a couple of comments from there. Now, I got to say, what prompted me, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, and we have in a couple videos in the past highlighted some comments before. But I want to do it more often, and what really pushed me over the top in getting it done for this particular video is that we had the creator himself, Dan Hughes. He created this game with his daughter, but Dan commented on our video, which I thought was really, really cool. And, it all sort of started with your complaining.
You didn't like what I had to say.
So let's get right to it here. So basically, Eric was complaining about the box size of CoraQuest and how it doesn't resemble any other boxes in his collection. But then Dan was quick to point out that CoraQuest is the same size as other boxes. In fact, it's the same size as Ticket to Ride boxes. It's the same size as Ticket to Ride London.
Well, no, Ticket to Ride
New York.
Ticket to Ride London, Ticket to Ride New York. First off, I don't have them.
So okay, well, he doesn't know that.
I can only trust in Dan's judgment on that.
I have Ticket to Ride New York. It's the same size.
As Ticket to Ride?
Ticket to Ride New York, yes.
Oh, I thought Ticket to Ride New York and Ticket to Ride London were in smaller sized boxes.
They are, and they are the same size as CoraQuest.
Oh, I thought you meant as regular Ticket to Ride.
No.
You got me confused. I can't see your face. But yeah, so I didn't know that. I don't have the biggest board game collection, but I have a decent amount of games that I thought it would be the same size as at least one, and it wasn't. But Dan was right. It is the same size as very common games. And it's funny because I used just as the generic square-shaped box. I was like, it's not the same size as Ticket to Ride, which I thought it was when I first backed it. And then technically it is the same size as Ticket to Ride, just not Ticket to Ride USA or Europe or anything.
Right. And I chuckled that he said that because that really reminded me of, it sounded like something you would say if you were counter arguing someone who said what you actually said, right?
Yeah. So I thought that was I can't disagree with them.
But he has a good point here. I'm a believer. He says, I'm a believer of not having unnecessary errand boxes, which we have seen some boxes that have way too much room for what the game is.
Oh, yeah.
So that's definitely a complaint. Makes them easier to ship and easier to store. So I believe.
Hold on. So I don't mind games in smaller boxes, like the patchwork size boxes, Seven Wonders Duel. That's fine. Big Book of Madness is in there's nothing wrong with that. My beef was that it wasn't identical to like 3 or 4 other games that I have so that I could make that a perfect shelf somewhere back here.
Gotcha.
It's a gamer's grief.
I like that. That's a new segment there too. Gamer's grief. But he says, thanks for the kind words about the game. Dan, thank you. And maybe you'll be watching this one as well. It just, it means a lot to us. We're both big fans of yours. We have been for many years, even when you were just started on Board Game Breakfast. And This Game is Broken podcast was groundbreaking for us as well. So really appreciate that. That's not the only cool surprise though here, because we do have another comment, and this is from the head colorer in, which is Gary King, the art director of this game.
It's the chief colorer in.
Sorry. So he says, thanks so much for your feedback on the young people's art and our choice of art direction, but most of all for noticing the backs of the standees. Artwork on the back of the standees here. So you don't just see the front of some of these heroes and monsters. So here would be one, for example, front and back detail that we certainly love here. And yeah, we have mentioned before in the other Kickstarter video that all of the artwork here is basically from children, which is pretty cool. And Gary is a new subscriber to Board Game Dad. So thank you very much, sir, for that as well. Really appreciate that one.
I agree.
We got one more comment here from our ever-present friend, Evan, who we really appreciate as well, because he's always watching and commenting on our stuff. He's talking about Momiji, which was the other Kickstarter game that Eric talked about in that video. And Evan had never heard of that either. But more importantly here, Evan has 2 sons, and both of them have artwork that is featured in CoraQuest. So this is a really cool connection here. He said, we pulled out the original art that the kids had submitted to CoraQuest, and it is incredibly close to how you see it in the game. Finn designed a treasure critter monster, and Grayson submitted a bunch of different dungeon flares. So some of those dungeon tiles have a bunch of different little illustrations on them. So I'm assuming Grayson was responsible for a few of those. They ended up using the skull and some bones on one of the dungeon tiles. And then he talks again about 3 sisters. But yeah, really cool kind of special thing here with having the kids take part in the artwork and the art direction here. And that is our flashback for today.
Flash.
All right, so Eric, what sort of game is CoraQuest? How would you describe it?
It's a cooperative dungeon crawler. It's an introductory dungeon crawler.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a cooperative dungeon crawler. And then it's got, your variable player powers, there's dice rolling, and there's minor mechanisms throughout the game. But really, you have a character, and you're trying to beat up all the bad guys and make it to the end of the dungeon. Mm-hmm. And every time, you search a treasure or something, you might get some sort of new item that makes it a little bit easier for you to do what it is that you do. And that's the game at its very core.
Right.
That's what you're doing. Each turn, you're doing that. You're playing you're rolling some dice, or you're moving or whatever to do that, to beat up bad guys and move around and find new treasure.
So just some basic facts about this game. Did just come out in 2022, designed by a father and daughter duo, Dan and Cora Hughes. Again, mentioned that Cora did a lot of the initial artwork, and then again, kind of crowdsourced from a bunch of children. And Gary King did most of the touching up and coloring in and direction of things like that. Published by, I have Bright Eye Games. You had a second publisher on your list.
I think right? Lucrum Games is also one of the publishers. Again, I don't know who does what, but
right, we're not sure who's responsible for which part, but they were both involved there. Has a solo mode and then plays up to 4 players. And depending on which quest you do, it could take anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes, but ages 6 and up. So this is definitely a widely inclusive game in terms of age range, for sure. And in addition to that, we've got some fun facts here about CoraQuest. So basically in the pandemic lockdown that all of us experienced worldwide. We should mention that Dan and Cora are in England. Huddersfield, I believe, is the town. Huddersfield, something like that. Anywho, this basically started during homeschooling, where they were, Dan was teaching, I'm sure, various subjects, and for a little bit of a change of pace, they started screwing around with designing a game. It kind of snowballed, and long story short, here it is. So that's a pretty cool origin story. That's the way it sort of happened by accident to an extent. We already mentioned this, but there's original artwork from over 260 kids, all of whose names are listed around the box, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so there are quests here where you're gonna change the setup for each game, but then there's also a bit of a story and a narrative to it. You can read those yourselves, or if you go onto CoraQuest.com, you can actually hear Dan and his magical voice narrate these adventures for you. There's even some background music and some sound effects. It's a really, really well done whole package here with this game, for sure.
Now, I gotta admit, I have not used the app yet. However,
yeah,
I will say this. When I read the rule book, in my head is Dan Hughes and his accent. Yeah. Like I can hear him reading, and that's how I read through it. I can't do the accent. I'll just butcher it. But like I read it, because
in your head it's perfect though.
I watch Dice Tower stuff on the TV, right? It's not just on YouTube. And so like he's one of the people that I see a lot talking, and so I have his voice in my head as I'm reading this, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's a really well done rule book. It's very, very simple.
It is. It's straightforward. It's simple. It's broken up into sections that flow and make sense. But they didn't give up on the theme of the artwork, and the graphic design is consistent throughout it, even though it's
now sometimes. Let's just say this game has your regular rule book, and then it has your quest book. So it has two different books, and sometimes in games that can be a little intimidating because now you're like, I have two rules, and if you just read the rule book and then you go and you play the first quest, it's pretty simple. You have a very, very easy time getting through the first quest, being like, oh, I understand what everything means and how to play now. It's not like you really have to remember that or like pick up that much new stuff just from the different quests.
Right.
So they have you have a certain amount of dungeon tiles, and the way that they made the game, there's some of them that are numbered, there's some of them that are lettered, and you're going to add a certain amount of the lettered ones with the number ones into different stacks, so that for every 4 tiles you're going to get one of the special ones. That kind of a thing. Also, there's a way to add extra tiles in case you want the longer game or just a regular shorter game where you don't add those extra tiles. Basically, on your turn, you're going to have 2 actions to do. You can move, you can attack. You can also search or swap an item or revive somebody, but those are actions that happen rarely as opposed to the actions that you're going to very commonly be finding yourself doing.
Right.
And you also get free actions, which you can use an item card, or you can go to like the edge of one of the tiles that you're on and reveal a tile next to it. They have this interesting mechanism where every single round you want to make sure that you reveal at least one extra dungeon, but you don't want to do them all so soon, because then there's just going to be a ton of villains and they're going to all try and get you. But you want to, every single turn, if you don't do that, then you don't move this token. And if you don't move that token, then you get closer to having like spiders unleashed throughout the cave or the dungeon that you're in. And that, just makes everything a little more difficult.
Yeah, there's no shortage of monsters in this game for sure. And they all have, some pretty basic stats. It's an easy game the iconography is simple, right? It's an introductory game, like you said. And the stuff really makes sense. You flip over one of these, and if you see a particular monster's icon that clearly matches that card, you put that standee there, and that's where the monster spawns. It's that simple.
Yep.
Some of the other Oh, sorry, I messed it up. We can see here some of the.
I love that Hegicorn. That one's adorable.
So these are some examples of some of the monsters and heroes that you would see. And the basic stats here, the heart life points, the boot is their speed, how much they can move, and the dice is going to be their attack. There's also some weapons that have a certain range, which you can kind of, throughout, like you said, find some extra stuff and add to your arsenal. But basically, everything you need to know is on these cards, including special abilities and all that stuff. So everything you need is right here.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really simple game. And even for things like when you're playing the game and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to make a range attack. And then you have to figure out line of sight. It's very simple. Any corner, to like any corner that's not, and that's it. They don't make you jump through hoops and pull out a ruler and make it from the center of a thing. So it's kid friendly. It's very simple. It's not going to be something that they're not going to understand. And you're just going to be like, sure, whatever, it hits them.
Right. And, you went through most of the actions, and that's pretty much it. Each quest is going to have a win or lose condition, and they're almost all of them are, to win, beat this big bad, and if you don't, you lose, kind of a thing. 10 quests come in the core book. I'm sure there are others that are in development. I'd be shocked if there wasn't. You can also create your own characters, your own monsters. They're on the website as well, which I really recommend checking out. Besides the narration, there's a little engine where you can build someone. You can even use your own picture. It'll take a picture of yourself for you, and you can make up your own little hero card. And you can even they have some suggested like stats, ranges, and things like that. But it's almost like, okay, if you want to make this super powered person, like, you can, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Which, I'm glad that they give that freedom is there to do that, so that if you have a younger kid who wants to just be this awesome, ultra powered person, they can go ahead and do it. And who cares?
Now, I will say this. I hope that they continue to support this game. And I mean, in terms of like the app and being able to create your own character on a computer for at least, another 10 years, because when my kids are at the age where they're going to want to create a character and put them in a game, I don't want to, go on there and find out this website is down. And I don't think Dan would do that. I feel like, he's a gamer and he would try to keep that up as long as possible.
I agree 100%. All right. You ready for some ratings?
Yeah, let's do some ratings.
All right. So in case you have never seen our rating system before, a quick overview here. This is our F.A.C.T.S system. So we have 5 categories here that we're ranking this game on. Each category has a possibility of 2 points total, so that the game can score a 10 as a perfect score. And we're going to go through each of these now and give you a total score at the very end. So we're starting off with the F, Eric, which is what?
Is this game fun for the family? And this was an easy one. 2 out of 2, easily. This is exactly what I want in a game that I can play with my kids. A cooperative adventure that's, simple. It's got artwork that they can maybe relate to. So 100% 2. I would have given it 10 points if I could, just for fun for the family.
Yeah, agree 100%. This is precisely what Dan and Cora created this game for. I mean, it's in the rule book. It's on the website. This is a game for you to play with your family. Yeah. And the fact that you can play it with kids or without gives it a 2.0, hands down. Which leads us into the A. Does it appeal to all ages? What do you think?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The artwork, again, it's difficult. I'm not an art critic, so it's difficult for me to find the right words to describe how I feel about certain artwork. But it's so simple, yet I don't know. The colors pop, so it's very vibrant. Even the tiles, there's just the dungeon floor. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's just going to be gray and black because that's shadows on the top. But it doesn't look dark and gloomy. It looks dark and and vibrant at times. And I really like it, and I think kids of that age are really gonna pick up. This is by kids, and
Yes.
they're going to find some sort of a similarity between, I can draw something like that, and maybe it'll like spark that creative bug, and then then they'll start drawing and want to create their own game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to hear years, 10, 20 years from now, maybe even more, from someone who became a game designer or a game illustrator because of this game. And I feel like that is guaranteed to happen. I can't wait for that to happen. I think that'll be a sense of enormous pride for Dan and Cora, in addition to, it already is obviously that they even succeeded in making this game. But I think this game is going to have long-term effects.
A person's whole board game journey is going to contribute to them being a designer. But like, as being one of their childhood favorite games, I think this is going to be a lot of gamers' kids,
right?
Because it's not mass market or anything. You're not going to Target and bringing this as a gift to somebody that you don't know if they play a game. You just get it.
Right.
But for gamers getting this game and playing it with families, those kids are going to love this.
Agreed. All right, moving on to the C, which is the components. There is a whole lot of them in this game box, that is for sure, despite the small size.
There is the components. I like wooden meeples, and I understand why they wouldn't do like miniatures or something like that, because kids are going to be having their hands all over this, and they might ruin certain plastic bits. But I would have liked to see wooden meeples. That being said, I think everything's fine. The cards are fine. They're not super, but I had to knock a little bit of points off for the cardboard instead of the wood. I get it. It keeps the price point down. That's just how I feel. What about you?
I was on the fence on this one. I wanted to give it a 2. You kind of convinced me not to, in a good way.
Don't say that.
No. It's fine. This is why we
because
talk
Dan's
going to
write some comment in the bottom about how I hate this game and I love this game.
I would love for him to be like, "Are you sure you like this game?" Listen, it's a 1.5 out of 2. It's still a great score, right? I mean, it's fantastic. The life trackers here are pretty high quality. I love these things.
Now, wait, I will say this.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to everybody, specifically Dan. I wanted to give this a 1.75, but Anthony does not want to go down the path of using quarter points yet.
I don't. I think
just throwing that out there.
It's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It's just
nice. Look,
a little much.
Nice chunky dice.
Yeah, dice are good. Everything's good.
And two final things. Sorry. You get some stickers, which you can put on various things. And I love when games, and I'm sure Dan had a say in this as well, come with their own Ziplocs for all the components. Love it. Love it. Well done. All right. On to the T, which is teachability. How easy is this game to teach others, do you think, Eric?
I think this is going to be a fairly simple one. I don't have kids 6 or older. So I can only speculate on how easy it's going to be to teach a child of that age. But my speculation is that it's going to be real easy. This is going to be a pretty easy game to teach. Now, because it does have that second rule book, it might be a little, because certain things are going to change, and I haven't played too many of them, so I don't know how much stuff is going to change.
Right.
But it might just make it a little more difficult for them to follow along with something like that. Yeah. But then again, that's what this game is for.
I agree. It's as simplistic as it is. There's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, there's many actions to choose from on your turn. There is line of sight, as we said. There is some variable, player powers and abilities and things like that. So in terms of how quickly can you get it taught, it's quick, but not super quick. So I think the 1.5 is pretty fitting for teachability as well.
I concur. All right, finally,
wrapping it up.
Skills learned, or the skill sets learned from this game. What do you got?
So we already talked about a couple of these just now, but the main ones are, it is cooperative. Okay, so any game that's cooperative is going to score high on the skill set for kids and families, because that collective working together, discussing and planning stuff, and not only thinking about what you're going to do on your turn, but what is best for the group.
And now we didn't mention this at all, but the characters that you can be in this game all have different player powers, and they're the same basic tropes that you have for regular dungeon building. So the barbarian or the warrior wants to go and do a bunch of damage, but like the wizard kind of wants to hang back and just magic missile, magic missile. So you do have to learn how certain characters will play, and I think that's an easy one to teach as well in this, and that's an easy thing for them to pick up and start to learn. Be like, oh, I have to play this character a little bit differently. And I think this game does a good job of forcing kids to learn that.
And you're exposed to a lot of the characters very quickly in this game, because no matter how many people are playing, you always play each quest with 4 heroes. So you're going to see them a lot, so that you're going to know what situations are best for each character. And to your point,
play with Crossbow Dude.
Crossbow Dude, okay, yeah. I think that, to your point, a lot of cooperative games are similar in that they have a group of different characters that complement each other with their skill sets. So, this is a great introduction to that.
Yeah.
We did mention line of sight, which is definitely something that you're going to need to know about if you're playing any other dungeon crawlers. No matter how complicated other games may make it, this is the perfect introduction to this, because there are definitely several games that use a very similar line of sight mechanism by drawing that imaginary line from one corner of your square to one corner of another square. I think that's a good skill set to have as well.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Variable player powers as well, rolling some dice, comparing, hit points to things like that. But there's a lot of good stuff going on here. I think you're going to walk away with this with a 2.0 for skill set, which is going to give CoraQuest a very, very high 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Now, again, remember, these are the family score ratings.
Yes.
Gamers might rate this a little bit lower just because eventually it might feel samey because they're used to 4-hour games. This is not that. I'm not into 4-hour games. This is right down my alley.
Definitely. Yep. So there you have it, a 9.0 for CoraQuest in our F.A.C.T.S ranking system. That's pretty much all we got. I hope this was educational to an extent. If you have played this game, please let us know in the comments below. And if your name is Dan Hughes, we appreciate you watching. And please feel free to continue to comment on other videos. We want to do some more of those flashbacks in the future. So give us a comment. It may just make the video next time. You never know.
And now for something completely unrelated. The Detroit Lions are all sitting at home celebrating that Matt Stafford got a Super Bowl victory tonight.
They might be. They might be.
Because we recorded this on Sunday, so as a Lions fan, I'm very happy that I finally really had a team that I could root for in the Super Bowl.
I'm happy for you.
And they won. I didn't win any money.
Yeah, I didn't win any money either. I was in several box pools and got bupkis.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? All right, folks, that's going to wrap it us. Go play some games. Exactly. Really, check out CoraQuest.com. Check out, there's lots of other videos about this game as well. We appreciate you watching, and we hope to see you on the next one. Until next time, my name is Anthony.
My name is Eric.
And we're the Board Game Dads. We'll see you.
Go Lions. Congrats, Rams.